I have a confession to make. Recently, I was working on a video for the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, and while I was gathering my thoughts to begin working on the script, I realized something. I've never actually beaten Skyrim. I've played it for hundreds of hours, grinded my stealth up to max level multiple times, started at least a dozen playthroughs. I've even watched the Rad Brad complete the game more than once, so I know what it looks like, but I myself have never defeated Alduin. I was shocked and disgusted with myself. And then I realized it isn't even just Skyrim. There are scores of titles that I've paid for, started playing, and maybe even put tons of hours into, only to not complete the main campaign. Fallout New Vegas, The Witcher 3, Dragon Age Inquisition, and the list goes on and on. I am a serial incompletionist, but I'm not alone. According to my highly scientific research, all of the games I've listed so far have less than a 40% completion rate. And yet, all of these games are critically acclaimed, ones that defined the years of their release and that are constantly spoken of positively by those who have played them. So how is it that these games seemingly everyone has played and loved appear to keep being left incomplete? Why don't we finish great games? The quick answer is, there are lots of reasons, but in this video, I'm going to break down what I see as the 3 most common reasons players might leave a game unfinished. Let's get the first and most obvious reason out of the way. Sometimes a game just isn't very interesting or isn't good enough to maintain our attention. Maybe the story isn't compelling, maybe the gameplay loop is too shallow, or maybe it's just not your genre. But we've all had games that for whatever reason just don't seem to click with us. One game that falls into this category for me is BioWare's Anthem. I watched every dev stream for the game and soaked up any bit of news that I could find. I even pre-ordered the game to get the Freelancer lapel pin. But upon actually playing the game, I kinda just lost interest. The story was fine enough, the lore was actually interesting, and flying around in the game felt better than any flight system I've ever experienced. But the weapons didn't quite feel satisfying to me, and the mission structure and lackluster loot made the gameplay loop incredibly transparent. It goes without saying that if you don't find a game satisfying to play, eventually you won't play it anymore. But like I said, this one is obvious, so let's talk about the second reason. There was a time when gaming was much smaller. High-profile games would release alone in their designated time, and there wouldn't be much competition for at least a few months. That isn't to say other games weren't coming out, but unless you were an avid gaming enthusiast, you probably wouldn't know about anything other than the biggest releases. These days though, not only do we get more high-profile releases like Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West coming out around the same time, but we also have more reliable channels to learn about indie titles like Dead Cells and Hollow Knight. This constant releasing of new games contributes to a fear of missing out on the next big thing. It leads to thoughts like, how am I going to finish the Battle Pass for Overwatch and play through Hogwarts Legacy? Or, wait a minute, Octopath Traveler 2 is coming out this month? For many of us, gaming is a hobby that we have to consciously carve out time to enjoy. So when games are coming out left and right, we have to choose which ones will get our time. Unfortunately, that means some titles will inevitably get left behind even if we really enjoy playing them. This is a tough problem to solve because there's a good chance you won't remember where you were in the games you've left behind, which makes the idea of returning to them kind of stressful. What were you doing last? Who's this random guy again? And why did you make that random map marker? There's also a good chance you don't want to restart the game to answer those questions because that'll take even longer. And what if you get distracted again? So many times, we just don't even bother. In general, it's impossible for us to play every game to completion, especially if you're anything like me and keep returning to games you've already beaten multiple times. Time is a finite resource, and our time management is a large reason why most people likely don't finish titles. There's just too many games and too little time. But there is one more, less depressing reason why you might leave a game unfinished. And that reason is that, for you, that game is finished. This one isn't quite as straightforward, but I'm pretty sure you've experienced it at least once. Especially in the case of role-playing games, we as players can become invested in our characters and defining their role within the story. We create our own goals and decide what it is we want our characters to pursue within that story. And sometimes, that can lead to us feeling a sense of completion at a point long before the developers intended. When I played through Dragon Age Inquisition, I loved the ability to interact with my party members and learn more about them. They would open up to me and I could convince them to like me fairly easily. That is to say, all of them except one. Josephine really did not seem to like me very much. She was cold and closed off, and she presented me with a challenge. What's her deal? Why does she respond negatively to everything I say? So while I was invested in the story to an extent, I devoted a good deal of my time and focus to learning more about Josephine and getting her to like me. Over time, by talking to her, I got to know more about her personality and her struggles with her family. This became even more significant because I was only able to develop my relationship with Josephine after I had made meaningful progress in the main campaign, which required the passage of real-life time thanks to the way the power system in Dragon Age Inquisition works. In this case, absence made the heart grow fonder, and I returned from every important mission excited to see Josephine and learn how much progress I had made. And then one day, it happened. After a conversation with Liliana trying to push me away, and after weeks of working at the relationship, I learned of Josephine's arranged marriage. So I put everything on the line and challenged her suitor to a duel for her hand. And when she found out, I confessed my feelings to her. And to my pleasant surprise, she reciprocated and we began a committed relationship. Coincidentally, this happened for me right after the first major battle with the game's boss, which ends in a way that feels pretty final. So in my mind at the time, the world was at peace, I had achieved my goal and found love, and together, Josephine and I could take on her family's financial struggle and live happily ever after. So, I completely stopped playing the game. Haven't touched it in years. But I will forever have that memory and call Dragon Age Inquisition a great game for the experience it gave me. Now that I've exposed myself as a total simp for e-girls, I'm sure you're probably thinking about your own self-created endings. As much as we may all want to say that we've completed the games everyone's always ranting about, the real purpose of video games is for us to have our own fun experiences. And sometimes that might involve playing in a way the devs never intended. There's a good chance that I will never return to Dragon Age Inquisition, at least not on my main account, but I'm okay with that. In my opinion, this is the best way to leave a game unfinished, because while the achievement screen may not reflect it, you will always have the feeling of satisfaction that you got everything you wanted from the game. And that's all that matters. So, if you have ever created your own ending for a game playthrough, I want to hear all about it. Let's chat in the comments below. And while I have you here, I have a brief announcement for the channel. In line with the theme of this video, I actually do want to go through and play some of the games that I've left untouched or incomplete. Once I finish them, or at least create my own ending, I'll be covering them in a new series called Were We Wrong, where we'll revisit old games and discuss if the games were as good or as bad as everyone says they were. Since I'll be doing full playthroughs of these games, the videos will take a little bit longer to come out, but I'm hoping to make this an ongoing series for at least the rest of 2023. I may also stream some of my progress, so keep an eye out for information about that. Also, as a heads up, my first title is going to be Skyrim, but feel free to let me know what games you might want to see in the future. Anyway, that's all for now. As usual, remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.